Yo, what is happening everybody, and welcome back to a brand new H1Z1 video. In today's video we're going to be discussing all of the different options that EG7 have before them to save H1Z1. In the H1Z1 community there are different opinions about what they should do and how they should move forward to save H1Z1. Today I would like to break it down and give you guys my thoughts and opinions on those, and hopefully in the comment section we can have a discussion, and of course just let EG7 know what options we'd like them to move forward with. In the community update that EG7 posted recently, they want the community to let them know their preferences and basically help give them some guidance on the best ways moving forward. This video is kind of a part of a series of videos. Recently I've been making videos about pre-season free, what the difference is between pre-season free and Z1 Battle Royale, why pre-season free is the most popular choice and why so many people are asking for that, and generally just providing a lot of information around old H1Z1 and of course everything that's happening with EG7. So if you guys don't want to miss out on any of that type of content, by all means subscribe and put on notifications, and as soon as we have any further info, of course I will upload it here on this channel. With all of that being said, let's hop into it here. I think that EG7 have a couple of realistic options. In the community update video, Robin basically said that they have an old version of H1Z1 and Just Survive running, but he is conscious of the fact that some of the community members would just prefer Z1 Battle Royale to get updates, because the old version of H1Z1 was buggy, and of course has quality of life improvements. However, most of the community want pre-season free back, and of course that is the most popular option. If you basically think of all of the options that EG7 have, let's kind of run through them really quick. So they could just bring back Just Survive and do some bug fixes and just fix it over time and continue working on Z1 Battle Royale. I think it's pretty much a given at this point that Just Survive will come back in some capacity. You can see that there is quite a big demand for it, and I think that's probably the easiest thing that they could do going forward, and then obviously decide what you're going to do with Z1 Battle Royale. With Z1 Battle Royale, they could either just update that version of the game because it is less buggy, but of course you would lose a lot of the stuff that people liked about pre-season free, like the game engine, the lighting, the movement. If you guys want, more specific details talking about all of those things, those two videos cover everything in depth, so I'm not going to cover all of those today. But in general, if you guys have been listening to the H1Z1 developers, there's always been this difficulty that the code is different in Z1 Battle Royale compared to pre-season free, and that's why things like the recoil will never be the same, because everything was coded differently in pre-season free. The engine rendered things differently, the animators have changed. They've basically completely changed everything, and it actually might be a very difficult task for them to update Z1 Battle Royale to the point where it actually reflects exactly what pre-season free was, because the engine physically can't run some of these things the way it used to, which of course leads nicely into the option that they should just bring back pre-season free with the old engine. In my personal opinion, I don't think the new engine is as good for H1Z1. The way textures and lighting rendered back in old H1Z1 looked so much nicer, and of course with all the movement and animations, which are the things that most people want in the Z1 community, those are on a completely different animation tool, and if you think it's difficult for H1Z1 developers who've been working there for 5 years to recreate animations, I just imagine how difficult it's going to be for people who've never actually designed H1Z1 to come in and make the recoil the same as it used to be and make the animations the way that people liked it. There was a lot of experience with the old developers, and it's going to be very, very difficult for new devs to come in and basically recreate all of this kind of stuff and understand what the community wants in terms of those types of things. Whenever it comes to things like movement, animations, lighting, recoil, the H1Z1 community is very specific in what it's asking for. If those new developers aren't able to update those properly on the new engine, people are just going to continue asking for pre-season free, which is of course what has been happening since pre-season 4. And finally, if EG7 were feeling ambitious, they could try to just completely make a whole new game on a whole new engine, basically take the H1Z1 IP and in a couple of years release a whole new game with a ton of upgraded features, but of course with the core elements of H1Z1, like recoil, movement, vehicles, and basically give it a complete upgrade and a more modern feel with things like a new map, a revive system, and all of these features that most Battle Royale games have nowadays. I would absolutely love it if H1Z1 got a whole new game in the future, but I think that is definitely getting a little bit ahead of ourselves for the time being. So what do I think is the best thing that they can possibly do? We're currently in a position where Z1 Battle Royale has completely collapsed in player count. A lot of the community are asking for Just Survive back. Most of the community are asking for pre-season free back, but of course there are still those players who want Z1 Battle Royale to remain. I think the first step for EG7 is to release pre-season free and Just Survive onto a test server or a separate SKU from Z1 Battle Royale. Don't replace Z1 Battle Royale, but allow access to those old versions of the game in some capacity, which not only would make the community very happy, but it would give them a ton of information about what the community like. It would give them some realistic numbers, and it would allow them to see how popular really is pre-season free and what kind of impact can this have. Even if they give us periodic access to these servers, on the weekend or something like that, to allow the community to kind of get excited for something, and of course allow the community to give them feedback about what they actually liked about Pre-Season Free and what they didn't. I think that would be invaluable. I think that should be the first step that EG7 look at. They don't have to do any development, it's only a matter of putting those games up, having an anti-cheat running, and of course enough servers to facilitate the player base. If that is successful and people really like Pre-Season Free as much as people think they do, and people really like Just Survive, I think that basically gives EG7 license to completely start working on what I would like to call H1Z1 Classic. Take the old buggy versions of Just Survive and Pre-Season Free and make them into a better, more functional game. In my opinion, Pre-Season Free has got the core elements of H1Z1. This is H1Z1 in its purest form, but I do not think this is the final version of H1Z1. I think it's the best version we've ever had, and I think it's the easiest version to move forward with because of its simplicity and how many good features were in that version of the game. As I've said previously, while Daybreak were fixing the game, adding new content, and doing all of these different things with H1Z1, they were also doing bug fixes, and it took them less than 6 months to fix almost all of the bugs in H1Z1 from Pre-Season 3 to Pre-Season 6. If EG7 were to find a team for H1Z1 who could fix all of the bugs and basically get everything looking perfect, maybe even take Just Survive, upgrade it to the Pre-Season 3 engine, and have a version of Just Survive running on Pre-Season 3, release that as a whole new game called H1Z1 Classic, and basically follow the steps of old school RuneScape. For those of you guys who are not aware, old school RuneScape had a similar situation to H1Z1. There were millions of players in RuneScape. They pushed a really bad update called the Evolution of Combat, and basically ever since then, RuneScape followed a very similar path to H1Z1, where it dropped in popularity hugely, and the new versions of RuneScape that they released from then onwards were never as popular as RuneScape was back in the day. Jagex and their team took old school RuneScape, fixed all of the bugs, and moving forward, any updates that they put in RuneScape, they actually put a poll in the game, so for anybody who had played for like 5 or 6 hours, they could take this poll, and they could actually decide as a community which updates they want to go into their game. So in H1Z1's case, a very contentious topic is revives. Some people think they should add revives, some people think they shouldn't. If they run a poll in the game and it reaches, let's say, over 60%, you can then move forward with the game and understand that the majority of the community wants this, and that is the best way moving forward. Instead of basically doing what Daybreak done, which is follow their own goals and pretty much ignore what the community wanted, and move forward with that because it's part of their vision. What RuneScape done so well is actually working with the community and understanding what the community wants without making any hasty changes to the game. I think that would be the best way to move forward with H1Z1. If old school H1Z1 is super successful, combined with Just Survive, that again allows EG7 to move forward with things like a new project. If old school H1Z1 is profitable and marketable, they can run it through petrol advertising, they can do events, they can basically make H1Z1 reach its full potential with an older version of the game, which only gets updated with things that the community actually likes. If it is successful enough and they're making enough money, and the H1Z1 IP proves to be profitable again, well then of course it'd be amazing if they made a whole new game, and maybe that's something that could appeal to a whole new generation of gamers. The way I look at this situation is, it's a huge risk for EG7 to really go ahead and do all of these updates and get this whole dev team in. Most of the community are asking for Pre-Season Free, most of the community are asking for Just Survive to come back. If they do what I say, it's the least risky way that they can move forward, while probably pleasing the most people. As for H1Z1 on the PlayStation 4, if they were to release H1Z1 Classic, I think it would be amazing if PlayStation 4 got that version as well, because even though it's a less talked about community, there still is a huge community on PlayStation 4 who still get full lobbies and still want H1Z1 to make a comeback over there as well. Something has to be done with the console community, because it's basically been neglected from the very day that it's came out, and for H1Z1 to be successful as an IP overall, having a huge presence on console, and having the game even crossplay, would honestly explode H1Z1. There's so many casual players and so many people who just play on console. There's so many people who play like Warzone with their friends on Xbox and PC, and that would be amazing for them to be able to play with their friends on PC. And as you guys will have seen for games like Blackout, Battle Royale games do not survive as long on PC without crossplay as compared to something like Warzone and Fortnite. So if that was something that they looked at in the future, I think that would be absolutely amazing. I'm going to make a separate video talking about PlayStation 4, but I think in the immediate future, if H1Z1 PS4 started getting some content updates and some bug fixes, you would see a huge spike in players, just with that little bit of care and attention for the game that those people love as well. The one final point that I would like to make in this video is, no matter what they do moving forward, they have to do something with the anti-cheat. It has just been absolutely terrible, and it's one of the biggest reasons H1Z1 died, honestly. For those of you who don't know, I live in Japan. We've had cheaters running the servers in Japan as long as I can remember, I started playing this game in pre-season 2. There has always been a huge cheater problem in H1Z1 because Battle Eye never got fully upgraded, and it's just been disgraceful how cheaters have been managed in H1 with little to no attention. The Asian community is so huge for H1Z1, whatever EG7 do, they have to work out a way to get around Asia's streaming ban. Just before pre-season 6 came out, H1Z1 had a streaming ban. People could no longer stream it on the most popular Chinese streaming sites, which of course put a huge dent in the game. This game is insanely popular in Asia, and they really have to facilitate that market so much better than Daybreak ever did. Things like the super aggressive ping lock and the super aggressive weapon lock have to go in H1Z1. It is simply out of place. I want you guys to have a look at these figures really quick. If you look at the H1Z1 leaderboards for pre-season 3, 4 and 5, which of course are the most popular times in H1Z1. In pre-season 3, when there was no ping restrictions whatsoever, North America had a total of 580,000 players who completed over 10 matches in solos. EU had a total of over 400,000 players who completed over 10 matches, and Asia Pacific had almost 600,000. As far as I'm aware, in pre-season 4, they brought NA West and NA East servers, which of course divided the player base. The pre-season 4 update in America was not as popular as pre-season 3, because a lot of people were moving over to PUBG around that time, and generally a lot of people weren't happy with the direction that H1 was moving in at that point. The game had already dropped down to 240,000 from 580,000 in America, EU dropped from 400,000 to under 300,000, and Asia Pacific actually increased to 750,000 players in solos. Then if you have a look at pre-season 5, this is whenever they implemented the very restrictive ping locks and basically locked all of the Asian players into their own server, and after that point it really started to kill the Asian community. In pre-season 5, the amount of players in NA had already dropped to 110,000, the amount in Europe had dropped to 270,000, and Asia increased to 880,000. The Asia Pacific community is far bigger than anybody can imagine. If H1Z1 is ever going to be financially successful, the Asian market has to be treated correctly. We need a proper anti-cheat in this game, and we need to stop locking Asian players out of every single server just because there's some cheaters, because realistically, the Asian players are what kept this game alive for such a long time. And without the Asian gaming community, you would see a lot of other games that would already be dead, such as PUBG, who's got a huge majority of Asian players. You really need to look after this community properly, and that's something that Daybreak never did. Whatever it is that they move forward with, stop restricting people from playing the game. There's some people who want to play with their friends in NA, allow them to play in NA, and stop mistreating the Asian community because they are keeping the game alive. You guys are free to disagree with me, but if you look at the numbers, it's pretty damning. From pre-season 3, NA had 600,000 accounts that had played 10 solos. It had already dropped down to 240,000. This is before they'd done the huge ping restrictions. And of course, when they'd done the ping restrictions, it dropped down to 110,000 in North America. Currently, H1Z1 is peaking in around 500 players, and there's literally people who want to play the game who can't play. I think the ping lock for every server should be 200 or 250, and the weapon lock should be 300. Until we have a healthy and sustainable player base. Whenever H1Z1 does have a lot of players in the future, if there's 1 or 2 players in your lobby with high ping, you're probably not going to notice. High ping players are at an absolute disadvantage no matter what way you look at it. The only reason that you get 2-tapped behind cover is because when you were standing out in the open, that person 2-tapped you, but it takes so long for their packet to reach the server, it doesn't register until you're behind cover. But if you had have 2-tapped them before their packet was received, you actually would have killed them even though they should have 2-tapped you. There is no advantage to high ping. Let's get these players back in the game, and that's one huge step that this game needs to make to be successful, no matter what they do. Anyway guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, man. Thank you very much. Please let me know your opinions down below. Should they keep working on Z1BR? Should they bring back pre-season 3? Should they release the old buggy versions of pre-season 3 and Just Survive separately while they work on something else? Or should they just make a whole new game for H1Z1? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And as always, man, I really appreciate the support on the videos. Thank you very much for supporting what I do. And until next time, guys, take it easy, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Oh my god. Oh my god.